Blast off.
Crikey, we're live! Haha, welcome to the Highbrarians, Thursday night, 9 o'clock. Thank you for making us your destination. It is a bit of a boring night, isn't it? It's not quite the weekend. We've still got days to wait until we take on Everton, our cursed Everton. I'm delighted to welcome all the way from New Zealand, where it's still silly o'clock in the morning. Scott, great to see you again, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. Did you enjoy the England match? What time was it on for you? Must have been an early morning one for you as well.
I caught parts of the second half.
I thought about you a lot. Do you know why? Because last time we were talking about it, and I said to you, I think Jude Bellingham's a once in a generation player, and wow. I think he was watching. I'm pretty sure he must have been watching.
Some people would go, "Oh, it was only Scotland. Is that why he bossed it?"
No. Listen, do you know what? When Gazza scored his goal against Scotland, it was only Scotland. Can't get away from the fact that they've won their first. But there's only two teams that have won all 5 of their opening games in the Euro qualifiers. I think they looked really average against England. I don't suppose we'll go too much into it because the Gareth Southgate. I don't know if you're catching the flack he's getting over here. It's a little bit bewildering, but good result for England. I was having a look through how all the Arsenal players did. I suppose we could have a talk about that, but I think really it's all eyes on the Everton game now, isn't it?
Oh, not beaten for 5 years at their ground. Looking forward to that one.
I mean, the last one was, we went out in the FA Cup against Man City. We took on Everton. I was sure we were going to put it right against Everton. We got 70% possession. Sean Dyche, new manager in. The new manager bounce. 15 shots, 3 on target. Really poor from everyone. Played at a walking pace. But it still, as bad as that game was, and it was, it popped the bubble, burst the balloon a little bit. But it wasn't as bad, I don't think, as the game we played the season before, where we were. I think the lowest point in the Arteta, management of Arsenal must have been that when they came from behind Odegaard's first goal and Calvert-Lewin popped them ahead right to death. We have had some terrible times up there.
I did see, they sold Iwobi and they got rid of Damari Gray, made 30 million, and they bought themselves a new striker, didn't they? Beto.
Oh, I don't know too much about it, to be honest.
I watched him play in their Carabao Cup game, and I watched him play in their last game, and it's what they've been missing because with Calvert-Lewin, he's always injured, isn't he?
Yeah, he didn't play enough. That's true.
What I saw of this Beto player, I can't remember where they bought him from, but
I'll have a look. Hang on. So you rate him, do you?
Well, I don't rate him, but what I've seen of him, it's definitely what Everton needed. Like what I've seen about him, he was running the lines and everything like that. It was everything they seem to have been lacking. So I think for Everton, it's a positive move for them, because they're lacking money and everything like that. They've kind of had to buy what they can out, haven't they?
Yeah, he's from, apparently, according to this, he's from Udinese.
Yeah.
And stats-wise, I really don't know very much about him. I'm just going off of the old stats. Yeah, he's played one. Well, I don't put me in it because I'll say he's not impressive on the stats and then he'll score a hat trick or something.
Yeah.
But, I just think they're abject at the moment, aren't they? You say what they need. Obviously the new manager bounce is well and truly over for them. 1 point in the first 4 games.
I could have seen, because Everton, defensively they're not great. I could have seen them going for somebody like Rob Holding or somebody, because they play that low block. He would be good. He would be good crosses all day long. Heading out. He would have been perfect for them because that's how they play, don't they?
I think judging by how they played against us, it's not. I watched them demolish Brighton, which was one of the freak results of last season, and it's just all about lucky counter attack. I mean, that was ridiculous. I think they ended up winning 4 or 5-1, and I think they had 4 or 5 shots. It was one of those games. I haven't seen a lot of Everton, but then why would you? And
I have, you know, I've listened to a few Toffee TV podcasts, and their fan base is just completely gone.
I've got to say, Liverpool and Everton are some of the best fans in the world, and I have so much, and I've known some great Everton fans, some that have really suffered. You know, and so actually, do you know what's interesting? When you look at people who go on about how it's all about winning and it's all about winning, if you want to take your hat off to fans who put up with not winning and still turn up. I mean, when we went up there, you would have forgiven them for being at a low point. You know, it looked really bad for them. Lampard had them looking definitely relegated. Sean Dyche was the answer. You know, you've gone from the very pinnacle, signing Rodriguez, signing the kinds of players that looked like they were going to be challenging. You know, when Arteta came in, it looked like they were going to be top 4 and we weren't. And now you look at it and just think,
the thing is, when you listen to the fan base, you know, there's a lot of them that don't like this Sean Dyche football.
Who does?
Then a lot of them, though, have said, but who wants the manager job at Everton? Nobody.
Yeah, and I mean, there's not like a rich history of players. I mean, obviously, I could go Arteta. You know, if we hadn't got Franny Jeffers, did you say? Yeah, why not? Yeah, I mean,
wasn't it? That was.
This is what I'm saying. Like when he came in, the fox in the box. It wasn't like we got on his case in the first 4 games. I mean, there's been players where I've been a little bit, what are we doing here? But you give them 4 games and it doesn't seem enough. But
that label, like you said, we thought he was going to be the second coming of Ian Wright, didn't we?
Well, now interestingly, talking about great Liverpool and Everton fans, I worked with a guy, Mark, who was a huge Liverpool fan, and him and his dad used to go to all the youth team games. And he said, "You think Owen's good? Wait till you see Jeffers." I watched a youth team game where Owen scored 4 and Jeffers scored 5. And I was like, oh, brilliant. Didn't work out. You know, what are you going to do? It's a gamble whenever you buy anyone, isn't it? You just don't know. I tell you what, I've started reading Charles Watt's book on Arteta. Brilliant. I mean, 4 chapters. Hats off to him. Hats off to him. Really good book, because it goes through the whole, and there's so much that you remember. I mean, he talks. The bit I'm reading at the moment, he talks about the Everton game being a low point, and it really did feel like it. It felt, you know, and he talks about the Ozil issues and all the things that were going on around the club, but yeah, I think for the real takeaway from it is just how much of it, you know, you can back players to come in and do really well, but that some of them need an arm around the shoulder. Some of them need stern talking to. I think he gets it right most of the time, but he also talks about the Willian and how Willian was a free signing, looked like really good business, was someone that Arteta really wanted. And I think when we talk about Kai Havertz, it's always around that kind of comparison with Willian. You know, it didn't work out. I think I'd love to do, I haven't yet. I'd love to do a transfer breakdown of everyone we've brought in and everyone that has worked and hasn't worked. I think you have to see it as you're not going to get them all right. But Arsene Wenger, I mean, when I was looking at the signings Arsene Wenger had made, it just reminded me there's been some absolute poop. You know, I mean, Franny Jeffers is actually jewelling the crown. You know, like, I mean, there's players I'd totally forgotten about that were abject.
Have you seen his career trajectory after Arsenal? It gets worse, I think.
Who? For who? For
Francis Jeffers.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, he disappeared. Well, do you know what? I saw a really interesting interview, written interview with him where he was talking about he just let the lifestyle get to him. You know, he was just partying. He'd made it. He come to London. It was, and listen, you know, I can't judge a 20-something-year-old on that kind of money. But
sorry, do you remember the Japanese player we bought exactly
the
same?
No, I was trying to remember his name, and it's totally gone. Inamoto. Yeah, and there's all the controversy around that because everybody said, well, we just signed him to sell shirts.
Yeah.
Which is, if I don't know if he did or not.
Come into the Premier League.
Say that again?
I think he was probably one of the first Japanese players to come into the Premier League, actually. There
was that great Japanese player that was playing in Italy that I really wanted us to sign for a bit. And it didn't work out. We know, but I mean, listen, there's been so many. The one I like is if in Ray Parler's book where he talks about. I don't know if this is true, by the way, but he says that Martin Keown was really easy to wind up. So they were playing a pre-season game, and Dennis Bergkamp and Martin Keown decided to really wind Martin Keown up by cheering every time Igor Stepanovs was on the ball. They were going, "Oh, he's good. Oh, he's playing really well," And it was getting to Martin Keown. But the next day they came into training and Stepanovs was on the, and you have to think we have signed some pup. But again, I said, Kolasinac, I think he looked quite good when he first came in. It's funny because I don't know what you expect from a player's first 4 games. There's a bit of bedding in that has to happen.
Kick the kettle on behind us, and then I need another coffee to wake up there.
Of course you do, yeah. It's funny, like looking at the transfers and everything. I don't know a lot about this Beto that Everton have signed. All I know is that we are going to go up against, in yet another game, a team that's going to do exactly what teams do against us. They're going to be massed ranks in the middle, congesting it, trying to force us out wide because they know we're not crossing it.
I don't know if you think this is concerning, but, I love how we play, but it seems to get to the point where we're pressing so high and high. We're pushing them back to their own box, and it just looks like, they've got 10 players behind the ball, and we're suffocating them. Do you know what I mean? In, we're still trying to play these little ticky-tacky, passes in between them, but there's no space, and I do think that's something Arteta needs to look at, the way we...
Well, I think that is exactly the point. Look, that's exactly the point. That's exactly what teams do against us. They know that if they congest the middle, that we're going to be forced out wide, whilst we are at our most creative from wide positions. Exactly what you're describing in a congested penalty area. It's really difficult. But if you look at how we set up to go and play them last time, we had Eddie Nketiah up front, Saka and Martinelli. And I think that Jesus could be the difference in a game like this. But I tell you who I definitely think could be a difference in a game like this. And I don't know if you saw his goal midweek, but Trossard. Belgium for Estonia, against Estonia. I mean, it was a rampant performance. But his goal was just exactly what you would hope. I mean, it was against exactly that kind of formation. He goes past 3 players, in between 2 others, and with very little backlift, top left bins. It was an absolute stunner. And it only takes a moment like that. I'm not one of these people that's going to say, I want us to go to Goodison Park and win 3 or 4-0. I don't care what the scoreline is if we win. I don't care what the scoreline.
It is. You get some of these people and they're like, we've won 1-0 and we played dreadful. It's like, I don't care. If we win. And it's like, you've got to win ugly sometimes. Man City.
Scott, it's massive. I think you're just about to say it. I think you're just about to say the massive double standards in how people will treat a Man City victory. And the best example of that is when we go to Crystal Palace this season, we win 1-0 with a penalty, and people go, "Oh, that's not how champions do it."
Yeah, it's exactly
the same result. It's exactly the same result as Man City got. And when Man City did it, everyone was like, "This is how champions do it." Yeah. You've got a certain point in the noise. You've just got to
go. And last year, Brentford did the double on Man City.
Yeah, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what was going on there, but that was a hell of a game at the Etihad as well. I think if you look at Man City's fixtures, it's looking like a bit like they might take maximum points. But West Ham could be, I mean, the form that West Ham are in, it could be a little bit, I mean, is it more hope than anything, I think, with me?
What, with regard to West Ham, do you mean?
Yeah, I think, can West Ham do the unthinkable and beat a Man City? I mean, Man City, there's questions there for me, big questions, but I think their run of games looks eminently winnable, like they could take 4 points. And that's the problem. This is, I think you get caught between people who say, oh, Arsenal have to play beautiful attacking football. Great. Well, we did that. And when we weren't winning playing beautiful football, everyone got fed up and wanted the manager out. Now that we're consistently winning, but not always playing attractive football, people want the manager out. I think there's a certain point where, like I said, you just turn the noise off and think, okay, I know that going to Goodison Park is not an easy game for anyone. No. At the moment, it's an easy game, because Sean Dyche has obviously not had the resources he needed. As I said, I don't know about this Beto guy, but they need a little something to just give them hope. They will be dogged against us, and let's be clear, they will consider it a real point earned if they get a draw against us, and they'll be playing for it.
They also didn't they get the player from Leeds? Is he called Jack Harrison?
Oh, well, I'll have to look this up. I don't know.
But they bought him, and he was injured when they bought him in, so he's not played yet.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, let's have a look.
I know they've got a 38-year-old Ashley Young.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't read like a who's who of world football, does it? I mean, that's how far they've come. I mean, obviously got Pickford in goal, who I think may be losing his place to Ramsdale, although...
a lot of people call him Mr. Flappy Hands, don't they?
Who? Jordan Pickford?
Mm.
It's a bit harsh.
Are you a fan of him?
No, I'm not. If the question is, do I think he's a good goalkeeper? Yeah, I do. But but would I want him at Arsenal? No, I wouldn't. No, I absolutely wouldn't. Would I? I don't know. It's an interesting one because Raya can't get into the Spanish team. Ramsdale might be getting into the England team, and he might lose his place at Arsenal to Raya. So I really don't know how to call this. I think one of the things that has worried me a little bit is that when we knew Raya was coming in, it gave Ramsdale a bit of a lift. He played a little bit better, but in the league, he really hasn't. And I mean, against England, saying, did he have a good game? He didn't save. He didn't have a shot to save. And there was no saving Maguire's effort. He's a goal machine.
It's like when I look at Pickford, I kind of look at him as the old-fashioned Tony Adams of goalkeeping, where it's basically, oh no, the ball's coming, I'm just going to kick it as far as I can away from my goal. And, I don't think he's got anything with his progressive passing from his...
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any of that from him. I mean, that was the one thing that made me smile a little bit because people were giving Ramsdale a lot of credit for how well he played against Scotland. And I was like, oh, I don't remember him playing well against Scotland. I mean, it is just that kind of him. He was getting praised for his passing.
He did a great pass to Rashford on the wings. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I do think that Rams... It's tough because Raya playing for Brentford, it was a different style. There is a point at which statistics don't do enough. You do have to take into consideration factors. So I think that the way we play meant that Ramsdale's statistics didn't look as good. But I don't think there's anything wrong with his distribution at all.
No, I do think though we get a couple of suspect games for Ramsdale. We'll see Raya. I think that's how Arteta will.
Well, the news I saw today was that Brentford have renegotiated his loan contract with us, and
he's playing,
yeah. And I don't see why you go to the trouble of doing that if you're not expecting to. So you'll play in the Brentford game, and
funny move bringing in Raya, isn't? I'd back having another good keeper, and I think he will eventually get the place. But it's like he's only going to be here for potentially it's a 1-year loan at the moment, isn't it?
It's a permanent deal.
Do you think we'll end up buying him then?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm my prediction on this one, for what it's worth, is that he will replace Ramsdale. Perhaps not immediately and perhaps not quickly. But then I think it really just comes down to, it's an interesting one. I do take your point about Arsenal have never had two number one goalkeepers. But to say that is to overlook the fact that Martinez played behind Leno, right? So we did really. We just didn't know we had two number one goalkeepers because we didn't see.
You wish we'd have kept Martinez?
No, not at all. Not at all.
I think he's got a filthy attitude.
Yeah, and I think that's why we let him go. I honestly think that I don't think there was a point where Arteta thought he was a better keeper. And this is another big shout out to Charles Watt's book on Arteta. He talks a great deal about how he deals with players. He has some very definite standards, and he isn't really the kind of. And I was quite interested in it because when a player has upset him or has not done what he's supposed to or what he thinks he should be, he doesn't go in on them. He just ignores them, and that's it. Like he did with.
Did you hear when Saliba came back from his loan? Saliba said that I saw Arteta in the corridor of the Colony. He said hello and walked past me.
Yeah,
I didn't speak to him again for a week.
Yeah, and listen, it's been really interesting to me because I've taken a real interest in Manchester United, sort of Schadenfreude. But I will say that it's beautiful. Listen, and I think if you're a Man United fan and you're sort of our age or a bit younger and you started supporting Man United and you live in South London or Sussex or wherever, you deserve this. This is what you get, you know. Look at Everton fans, you know, true to their colours. Doesn't matter how bad they are. If you're a glory hunter, this is what you get. But the reason I think it is appropriate for us to discuss it, apart from the fact that I love watching Man United do badly, and it's been a great 10 years for that, is that a lot of people have been baffling me by saying, well, what was Ten Hag supposed to do? He was asked a question about why he didn't play Sancho, and he had to tell the truth and say he hasn't been good enough in training.
Do you think he should have used the Arteta approach of
100%? Yeah, of course. You don't air your dirt. Listen, I'll tell you why. Because he doesn't know he's got the Antony problem coming up, right? He knows the window's closed. He knows that Jadon Sancho is a player he may or may not rely on, but he doesn't look. He apparently was what he was doing was trying to last roll of the dice to wind up Sancho. So he's taken a calculated risk, and and it's backfired. And if you're going to take calculated risks and it backfires, then you have to wear that. And I think that what Arteta would have done in that situation is less of a calculated risk. He just says, you know, he's not playing in this game. We don't hear Arteta come out and say, you know,
he would just say not available for selection.
I said about Aubameyang. He said I'm not going to talk about it. It's like, you know, Mesut Ozil, he's not in the team. I don't want to talk about it.
I feel sorry for Ten Hag because
stop it. He's evil. Evil Ten Hag. I mean, his name is Hag, for God's sakes. Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you want? It's like, no. I don't have any sympathy for him at all. I'm not sure I like him at all. And also, I think it's just another one of these. For me, although, look,
he's another Pep graduate. He's another Pep graduate.
He is another Pep graduate from the Bayern era, from when he was in charge of Bayern too. And that's one of the issues I have with him, because I think the Glazers are the Glazers, right? It doesn't take a brainiac to go in on the Glazers. They went with Solskjaer when he started off doing quite well, and they thought, well, we'll back him. And it wasn't a big surprise it never worked out for Solskjaer. It was a big surprise it didn't work out better for Van Gaal or for Mourinho. But to go into Ralph Rangnick after Solskjaer and that be a complete disaster, what they do is they flip-flop. But they would have gone for Ten Hag because his Ajax team played exciting football. I know it's a Dutch league, but they were, you know, some of the players, if you look at Jurien Timber, Gravenberch, Anthony, who was playing really well for him, Martin, you had this squad of players that was brilliant in Holland, reached the semi-finals of the European Champions League, looked every bit an exciting flair footballing team. And that's what they would have brought in. Out of nowhere, he's now talking about becoming a transitioning team. Like, I get that you're trying to compete with Man City and Arsenal, and the way to beat teams like that is to be good. But if you don't have the squad to do it,
But it's not also it's not what we expect from Man United, is it?
We
expect grab the game by the rough of the neck.
Yeah, attack. Yeah, I mean, there's really surprised me because Football Terrace, Terry Hughes, who he's a Man United fan, and he came out and said, look, a lot of people are saying, oh, we don't like football. You didn't start supporting Man United because of their attacking beautiful football. And I was kind of like, I didn't start supporting Man United, but they did play beautiful football. They had Eric Cantona. They had some great players. I mean, the Ronaldo, like.
It's like what I was saying to you the other day on that comments when you briefly talked about the other day on that video. It's like what they did with Ronaldo. They keep bringing in an aging marquee signing to appease the fan base, like they brought Ronaldo in when they brought Zlatan in. They seem to do it, don't they? They like quick. Who was the guy? The South American guy,
Cavani.
Did nothing, did he?
Well, this is an interesting point because they had this almost perfect setup, right?
Yeah.
So obviously they've had the problems with Mason Greenwood, but when it was Rashford,
I don't think they'll play for Man United again.
No, and no, I can't see it either. I think you have, if you're sending him away, there is no if you said he's done nothing wrong, he was found innocent in a court of law. No employer ever usually has to sack someone because they were accused of something. Yeah. Now, I know it's complicated by the fact that we've all heard the tape and it's disgusting.
Yeah. We know what we've heard, don't we?
Yeah. But so the point is now that they've sent him away on loan, they've made the worst decision they could have done because they've said, yeah, all right, he needs to be punished.
And he needs to play.
Is there an amount of time that he can be rehabilitated? And I don't think there is. No. Not in the and for the public image of and for just my problem with it on one level is, I think we talked about it before, is does everyone deserve a second chance, or are we saying he should never play professional football again? It's a big question. For me, I'm glad we don't have to touch it. We're probably very lucky at Arsenal that we have a much better run PR team. Yeah. Because I think if you're working for the Man United PR structure at the moment, just resign, because you're just hopeless. Everything comes out in the paper. Nothing is controlled. Nobody seems.
There's still people in that dressing room that don't want to be there, like Anthony Martial.
Yeah, well, can you blame him?
No.
I mean, can you blame him? He definitely doesn't want to be there. I tell you what, I did this thing at the start of the season where I tried to predict where every team was going to finish. And the way I did it was using certain metrics. So squad depth, first 11, manager, progress. So where they were in terms of the project, number of factors. And I looked back at my scores and I gave the first 11 at Man United an 8 out of 10. And now I look at it and go, what was I thinking of? I mean, they're just falling. I said, though, and I really felt like the only chance Man United had to progress from last season, which was a good season for them, can't argue with that, was that they have Jadon Sancho and Anthony, and one of them has to come good this season. Whether it's Anthony in his second full season, which I could definitely see. Obviously, what's happened in the interim means that's unlikely. Or Jadon Sancho, who is undoubtedly a player, albeit a player with a huge number of issues around him. But if you can get a tune out of one of those two and Rasmus Højlund is busy enough up front, then there's definitely potential there. And that's all gone now.
And what I saw Fabrizio Romano and Manchester United had messaged out yesterday, they've sent Sancho to the youth team, haven't they?
Yeah, he's not training with the first team. Again, listen, I can understand all this happening, but why are we hearing about it?
Exactly. It should be internal.
100%. I mean, it absolutely has to be. And you're talking about players that don't want to be there anymore. Maguire and McTominay, Van de Beek, those three can't want to be. I mean, they want to be there because they're getting paid and no one else will give them that kind of money. But I would ask serious questions about. They've got Kobe Mainu, who is, I really liked him in the preseason. Gutted that he got injured because I thought he was going to be a bit special.
Is that the young lad that they're bringing in for CDM?
Yeah, or he could. Yeah, he's a little bit versatile, but yes, I mean that's where he played in the preseason. But I just think on the current, it's very hard with social media now. You think, well, George Graham would have just not let any of his players have phones, wouldn't he? He would have just gone, right, you can't have a phone. But this idea that Jadon Sancho is allowed to put up a post and it stays there, it might even still be there. I don't go on X or Twitter.
It's been reported. It was removed last night. Well, yesterday morning.
Well, this is the thing about, I absolutely love watching. I mean, last season it was Chelsea imploding, and Liverpool. I didn't really enjoy Liverpool doing badly, but it is a breath. It's a breather. They're a tough team to play anywhere.
But I know it's hard to blame, and people go, Glazers have thrown money in here and there, but their investment and recruitment is so bad.
It's legendarily bad. I mean, look, every good player, every expensive player they've bought. I mean, Pogba. What do you want to say about Paul Pogba? I mean, like, apart from the fact
I think Graham Souness has said it all.
Yeah, hasn't it? Well, Graham Souness has said it's right. So, but I mean, who else are we looking at? Jadon Sancho, huge amount of money. What's going to happen there? They absolutely overspent on Rasmus Højlund, and however good he is, you can't be spending nearly 72 million after add-ons on a player with 9 goals in Serie A. You just can't. When Harry Maguire is going for 100 million, and you can't stump up the extra 30 million because Maguire won't leave or whatever.
It's looking. For United this weekend, they might have to play Maguire and Evans.
No, I think they do. I'm pretty sure they do because they are. Lindelof's out. Bailey's finally gone.
Is
Varane's out? Martinez, I think, is still injured. He didn't play. Lindelof's out. Lindelof's injured.
So
Evans and Maguire. And you know what? Like, I'll have a bit of fun at Man United's expense. They didn't bring Johnny Evans in to be a player. He's doing his coaching badges. He was going to be, part of the coaching setup. Thank God they've got him. Maguire.
Yeah.
Shall we just have a moment? Because, can I just tell you, watching that England match, right? My stepson said to me, has he always been crap? And I was like, he's not crap. He's an England player. And he's worth 80 million quid. He plays at Man United. He's not crap. And then the next thing you know, he's putting an own goal. And you just think, well, all right, he's not great.
It was a great finish.
Yeah, but are you watching Richarlison?
The thing is, people are like, it's unfortunate he scores all his own goals now. Why is it could happen? It could happen to anyone. These deflections. It's like,
who said that? No, one of the people in the commentary team said that he's got to put his foot out there, and you go,
it's like basically he's too slow and his positioning.
I just think, this is what it does all tie in with how we treat players. There's a narrative that forms around a player, and before you know it,
I believe we can respectfully critique him without bullying his character.
We can absolutely also say that there are probably defenders in the England setup watching from the bench going, why am I not playing? Like, there's probably Pickford was probably thinking, look, stick me out there at centre back, and I could. But I don't want to be needlessly cruel. I think that confidence is a huge part of anything you do. Like, I can't imagine how. I think people totally overlook personality when it comes to football because they go, he's paying £1 million a week. Like, if I paid you £1 million a week to go and play football and you didn't think you were up to it, that's what managers do.
I've also heard people say he gets 150 grand a week. What's his problem? It don't matter how much money you've got.
Doesn't make any money.
Mental health affects everybody. Yeah. And right now at this stage, we know he's not playing week in, week out Man United. And Southgate didn't need to bring him on at half time, did he?
No, he didn't. No, and I'm a little bit taken aback. I don't watch England qualifiers that often. I found the game against Ukraine really boring. I thought the Scotland game was great. Obviously, it's the old enemy. I don't
The old
remember.
boys.
I'm only just old enough to have been alive the last time they beat us. But obviously I was 2 years old, so it's a fairly good fixture for us, isn't it? I mean, it's not like it's nice to beat. I think when you watch them sing their national anthem with such passion, and you realise just how important it is for them to beat us, and then we just sort of play with them like we did. It is brilliant.
People have commented, they're like, when they brought Maguire on at the Emirates, the Arsenal fans cheered him on. We clapped him, things
Probably,
like that. And it's
probably, you know what, like the banter in football is everything, isn't it? Like,
you're
fine.
always going to get this banter. And, if we can be polite, basically, his confidence is shot, his self-confidence.
There is.
Maguire is not a bad, it's like Holding that. Maguire is not a bad defender. If he played at a team like West Ham or Everton,
okay, well then that's what I wanted to open up to, because we are on the same page. I wouldn't pick him. I don't rate him, but he's not a bad defender as such. And
no, he's not.
But here's the question though, Scott, because you brought it up. It's like this is on him then, because the door is open for him to revive his career at West Ham, and he goes, "I'd rather have the money and stay here." I mean.
I'm dreadful being a Libra. I'm like this, the weighing scales, and I'm like, I see two sides to this. I'm like, he has a contract. He's allowed to honour his contract, and I see that. But and it's like there's nothing wrong with doing that. But on the other hand, you've got to play, and you don't play, you get rusty. And I also see it that it's so unambitious. He had the opportunity to kickstart his career again. And as soon as he left United, that pressure valve instantly drops, doesn't it? As soon as he leaves United, and he was a good player, he was a good defender. If they're playing a defensive line and they're playing, not very high, he's fine, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's not wanted at his own club.
I don't get it.
You've got to go. Because what? I mean, if it's 50 grand a week less, but you're not. I think we agree. I don't think that.
And I don't rate David Moyes at all, even though West Ham are doing okay at the moment. But I think David Moyes would have been the kind of tough love he might have needed. Somebody a bit old school.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm still not. Listen, West Ham is a great example of a fan base that's wonderful, and they're not sure about him. There's a real question mark for me is how much can he ride the European success? But look, what I will say for Moyes is he's gone back to what West Ham are good at, which is absorb the pressure, hit on a break, not expecting to have the ball at all. Antonio started well. They haven't spent the money yet, which is a bit surprising. They've got players. They've definitely got players. And they've got an attitude and a style and a bit of swagger about them. So
what do you think of James Ward-Prowse?
Yeah, it's because we've been he's been popped up in conversations, and he's a good player. I don't think there's any doubt he's a good player. I think he's one of those though that I'm not sure where I'd play him.
Yeah, like last season, with Southampton, he was the shadow of the player he was. I think,
Of course,
it's the whole team in general. But I questioned his that he never usually breaks the line and things like this. But coming into West Ham, he seems like a revitalised player.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with dressing room attitude. And listen, I think it's a new start for him. It can't be easy. I thought, to be honest with you, there weren't a lot of players that did well last season, obviously, at Southampton. But I was surprised I wasn't more interested in him from a quote-unquote larger club. We've got Sean's just left a comment. The spacing, I've always wanted a midfielder who's great at long shots to present a deeper threat and causing opposing defenders to have to defend less deep. Yeah. So give us an example. Who are you talking about? Like, I've always wanted, he's great at long shots. Do you meet, trying to think, if I said to you, midfielder who's great at long shots, who pops into your head? Santi Cazorla? I hope we're all right.
I did say that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I can't. It's just I can't. And you know, this is a Gooner channel, and you know, I'm not going to apologise for a lack of objectivity. I just don't like him.
And I've just brought up Frank Lampard.
I know, and that's a yellow card. Well, I've got to get some yellow cards for you. No, yeah, it's a good shout though. Who I'm thinking of a German. I'm in a Lothar Matthäus. Well, did you call it? Yeah, Lothar Matthäus. Yeah, Lothar.
Good player.
Yeah.
Apparently, just we don't want to talk about the Havertz thing, but he had a good game for Germany the other day. They reckon.
Well, he had a good and a bad one. He no. I mean, the Japan. Well, first of all, Takahiro Tomiyasu.
Tommy. Yeah.
What a game he had for Japan. I mean, they were on fire. I mean, that was a
game. He bossed.
Couldn't believe. And listen, I'm a Bayern fan. Not like I'm an Arsenal fan, but I always have a soft spot for Bayern. And Hansi Flick is one of the all-time legends, right? He's the man. When he went off to manage Germany, it was like, oh well, you know, Germany will do really well now. How it's gone as badly as it has for him is beyond. But I mean, I watched that game again. Well, I watched the extended highlights of the game they played against Japan, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? Kai Havertz played badly. No one played well. Japan didn't have a lot of chances, but they put them all away. It was something you never think you're going to live to see. I mean, I know that they lost to them in the World Cup, but this was at home. You know, it's supposed to be a fire up before the Euros that they're hosting, and so to see Hansi Flick sacked, and I was watching Kai Havertz just thinking, my God, when your luck's out, right? You know, he's got a manager who believes in him in Germany. I've started him as a number 9, and no, it didn't happen for him. It was pretty shocking.
And also to answer that question by Sean there, when we were talking backstage a minute ago, we were talking about how we move forward with suffocating teams, aren't we? And that's why we can't get these long shots off.
Yeah, well, it's hard to get a shot of, if there's 5-6 people in front of you.
Yeah.
But I like the question about people who shoot from. I mean, now it's kind of frowned upon anyway, isn't it? I mean, Rodri. There you go. There's a midfielder that takes a long shot. Gundogan.
Smith Rowe. He used to do a few long shots.
Are we ever going to see him play in an Arsenal shirt again?
I think excuse me.
Don't. I'm not going to hear it. No, don't say it. Don't. I can't bear that. Because then it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. We should took the 30 million for him and let him have a career. Yeah.
But for me, he rates Fabio above Smith Rowe, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, listen. I think you want a broad set of players to give you the most diverse options, and I think Emil Smith Rowe is our best dribbling footballer. And I don't know. Look, I think that he's right for a game like Everton? Probably not.
No.
So I thought the Man United game was where he would do well, but there's something not happening. He's one of 3 players not to have had any minutes. So I just think maybe it's been decided.
Did you hear the rumor that Saka's got an injury?
Yeah, no, he hasn't. That's fine.
I'd not.
He's got a niggling. I tell you what, I know I'm a bit behind the times here because I read that Thomas Partey was going to be back after the international break, and I just assumed it was this international break. It's the next one. He's out till the 22nd of October. So, which, the good news in terms of injuries, there is some good news floating around, and Saka's one of them because he obviously came on against Scotland. So he's got a niggle, repeated niggle, but it's obviously not something that requires surgery or anything like that. Having said that, it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't start against Everton, and we do have options. We do have players who can go out there and create. And I don't know how you line up against a low blocking sort of team. I think what you need tricky players. You need players who are going to do something a bit unusual. I think Trossard gives you that. Jesus gives you that.
I think, personally, I'd like to see a bit more Trossard. But I think what we'll see against Everton, we'll see Nketiah up front, and we'll probably see Jesus playing Saka's position if Saka
I think Sean said that on one of the videos as well, so I think he would agree. I think that's a really good point, because I think the comment he made was that we have the perfect replacement for Saka, and that's Jesus. And I absolutely, well, I don't know if he's perfect. I tell you, the other player that stood out for me in that Belgium game, hate to say it, Doku. The new Man City player. Because I was like, what's he done? He's all highlight reel, and I saw he looks good. He's the sort of player I think that would terrorise Everton, because he will run at you for fun. I mean, he was horror. I mean, he was horror show for Estonia. But
do you see a future for Phillips at Man City?
No, I can't. And I know that it takes players a year to bed in, for him to be getting England time after 300 minutes of Premier League football. I get the whole thing of you don't have to play for your club to play for your country is a bit weird for me. I think if you're not good
to be selected for your country, you're meant to be at the top of your game for your club, aren't you? So
he definitely isn't that. That's for sure.
So yeah, I think the Phillips Maguire selection is always going to niggle at people, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think justifiably so, because if you're a fan, if you're an England fan, it's a hard one. I can't make it make sense. Why Calvin Phillips? Well, there isn't a better player in the midfield. I mean, I could think of a couple. But then the problem I have with this criticism of Southgate is that, for me, Bobby Robson in 90, Glenn Hoddle in 98, we've had glimpses of managers I thought could do something with the England team. 96, Eltel. And I think that it's never quite worked out for them. But Southgate comes along and he gets in a final and a semi-final. I can't think. I mean, apart from there's no one that's done better than him, and yet he's getting dogs abuse from everyone. No, he's not good enough.
Do you think he can take him to the next step, though? Do you think?
I think he's earned the right to try.
I think he has. Yeah.
So I don't think I'm not qualified to. All right. Well, there's two questions. That's really two questions in one, isn't it? It's like if I said no. I mean, if you said to me, "Look, Pep Guardiola," yeah, obviously I'd drop Gareth Southgate. I think Gareth Southgate would do the honourable thing and resign. If a truly legendary manager said, I think I can win the World Cup with England. It's a unique set of challenges. I mean, it's a tough question for me because on the one hand, it's like, look, Gareth Southgate, is it his fault that we didn't win the Euros? I mean, like, how close do you want to get, right? I heard someone say no England manager's ever been as lucky with fixtures. All right. I'm calling bullshit on that. Graham Taylor got a World Cup, Euro Cup group, which had France, Denmark, and Sweden in it, and we got 1 point. Or I think it was 2 points. And we have had easier groups we haven't qualified from. Look at what's his name, the Italian. We've had groups that were easier to get out of, and we haven't done. Yeah. England for me, I think what a manager does in the England setup is he creates a harmonious camp. Capello, that's it. And I think Southgate does it. I think the players like him and respect him. It's not long to go now till the tournament, and he's, we've qualified practically. We play Italy the next game. If we beat them, and this is a very average Italy side, but if we beat them, we're done. Like, what does everyone want from this guy? Do you know what I mean? Like, we qualify for everything, and we get further in everything than we've ever done. We're genuinely considered potential winners. We have to be considered potential winners of the Euros.
I think what a lot of people's concerns are his tactics. A lot of people are like, he's too defensive.
Yeah, all right.
All
right. Now you show me a winning team that isn't.
Well, exactly.
That's the point.
Games are won in both ends, both boxes.
No, I mean, tell me about the German teams that win World Cups. The first thing they do is they don't concede. The great Italian teams. I mean, look, let's face it, the team that beat us in the Euros last time out, was that a great flair attacking team, was it? Like, the teams, I get it that everyone wants to see Brazil 1970 and everyone plays FIFA, so they would be pulling off every trick. Look, really, decide what you want. Do you want to be a flair team that inspires or do you want to be, Spain? You know,
Sometimes
Spain.
you just got to grind out a result anyway.
Spain were grinding out results. I mean, they were the best team in the world, but they weren't beating teams 7-8-0. They were make sure you do your jobs. They were possession football, kill the game, end the conversation. You know, like I just think we're in an age now where everybody wants what has never been on offer. You can't, you know, it's like, would you like chocolate or vanilla? Yes, please. Yeah, I'll have both. You know, all right, but do you want to win the tournament and steadily progress and save your best games to? I mean, we've had some swashbuckling games that have taken it out of us in the quarterfinals. I'm reminded of Hoddle's 98 when we had that Argentina game. Could have gone the other way. But just before that, we played Colombia, and that was a bit of a, you know, so.
Well, I thought he did quite well until he lost. He kind of lost the team with his spiritual stuff, didn't he?
It's great. It's a great. I found this. I found this Instagram page. I've got to link it to the Facebook page. It's so funny because it's just footballers talking about stories. And there's a couple, obviously the famous Ray Parlour story with Eileen Drury, where he sits down in the chair and goes, "Just a little bit off the back, please, Eileen." And he never plays for England again. But I cannot remember who the other player is. And he was like, "Look, I'm not really into it. I've already, you know, I just." So his comments about disabled people must have done something in a previous life is not quite, you know, it's funny. I mean, like, if I'd known he was definitely going to bring us a World Cup, I probably would have let him say whatever he wants. It's like, please stop listening to Glenn Hoddle unless you're an England player. Do you know what I mean? Like, you ain't got to listen to him. Just watch him hold the cup up, you know. And then if it turns out he's a total bellend, that's
right. Tottenham player or not, he was a good player.
Oh, there's a great Jasper Carrot line, which is Hoddle's found Jesus. Must have been a hell of a pass. Yeah.
I used to watch him back in the day, Jasper Carrot and Phil Cole. Do you remember him with the rubber face?
Yeah. I think he might have died, actually.
Did he? Oh.
Maybe I'm confusing it with someone else, but yeah. No, Jasper Carrot's brilliant. But before we go off on a comedy sidetrack, I think for Maguire, look, yeah, it doesn't make any sense that he's being picked by Southgate. But I think it's the same kind of thing where Southgate's just going, up yours. You know, I'll pick who I bloody want.
Yeah, and also, you know, nearly everybody says take him out the limelight, take him out the limelight. Is it one of the moments where Southgate's like, I know better than you guys. I am going to prove you wrong.
Listen, I mean, I know that we're not talking about Havertz, but we are talking about Havertz because it's the same thing. You know, is it sensible when a player's being absolutely lambasted by everyone and you're his manager? Do you stand by him and go, I'm playing you? There's a great interview where Alan Shearer is talking about the impact Terry Venables had on his career, because when he went into Euro 96, he hadn't scored for a while. I mean, a while. And Terry Venables, and he says, and Terry Venables took me to one side and says, "You're starting for me. I know you got this." And Terry Venables is sitting behind him while he tells the story and goes, "Oh, I just had to say something." Do you know what I mean? I didn't believe it, but you know, and you think it works. It's great management. Doesn't work. It's bad management. Those guys are leaders, you know, managers. I'm not going to say they get the big money to make those decisions because it implies I think the money makes a difference. They're doing it for other reasons. But
what do you think about Maguire's mum coming out and saying something? Probably shouldn't have.
Probably.
Yeah. You know, if I was Maguire, I would be seriously embarrassed about that. And then I also have to look into this situation.
Probably.
Is this the problem? Because everyone says it's okay, Harry, you're brilliant, it's okay, and it's almost like that.
No, I mean, like, I want to know where Diego Maradona's mum was when he was going through problems. Like,
it's like,
where's Balotelli's mum? I know he loves his mum.
It's like,
look,
them going, Harry's.
I don't care what your job is, Scott. I don't care what your job is, right? If your mum's coming out and defending you in the press, you've got to have a word. You've got to be like, look, I've got this, mum. I'm an England international.
And like we said, I think that's it. You know, is it because he's got all these people that are around him and they're just saying, it's okay, Harry, go hard, just keep doing what you're doing. But somebody.
What would you say to him, though? Like, what would you say to him if he was your mate?
Probably you need to get your head back in the game, mate.
I know, but it's the kind of thing that it's easy to say. It doesn't really help.
No,
It doesn't help at all. I mean, you said it earlier, and I loved you for saying it because, I know somebody years ago when Stan Collymore was going through his depression cycle, who was a really good friend of his. And he said, yeah, he's depressed. And one of the hardest things to explain to people, and this is back in the 90s, or late 90s, noughties, was the hardest thing to explain to people is just because he's earning a huge amount of money doesn't mean he's not depressed. It was Iniesta for Spain that, had nightmares. You cannot legislate for mental health. It's like anything else. You break a leg or you have mental health issues. So for me, one of the things that's really telling about that is when somebody's going through depression, a lot of people want to help them and go, come on, you'll cheer up, get yourself through it. And those kind of comments don't make any difference.
No.
Eric Bristow, there's a great book called Bounce.
The dart player.
Yeah, Eric Bristow, dart player. But there's the guy called Stephen Peters, I think it is, and he's a sports psychologist. And he worked with Eric Bristow because obviously he was the world's greatest dart player. Famously said of him, by the age of 27, Alexander the Great had conquered most of the known world. Well, Eric Bristow's only 26.
He was Bristow, what a fine specimen of an athlete.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? That's an athlete, right? That's how I like my athletes. But bear with me. I'm labouring point. But what we're saying is Eric Bristow's he's suffering from the yips, which is when you just hold on to the dart for a fraction of a second too long. And all his mates are going, well, just let go of it. Yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, cheers. Never thought of that. Your brain, it can be impossible to help people sometimes. It can be really difficult. So saying to Harry Maguire, you've just got to knuckle down and get on with it, he knows that. Look, if you look at the situation with Pepe, if you look at situations where it's gone wrong, like Sancho obviously is in the press now, sometimes you want to do what's right for them, but you genuinely don't know what to say next. And sometimes it doesn't matter what you say. Sometimes something's just got to change.
And the thing is also with mental health, I've dealt with problems myself, is nothing changes until the realization of the person is that they want to accept the help.
Yeah. And that's the same with, alcoholism and drug abuse. And
That's what I mean, though. Has he got all these friends and his mummy and they're going, it's okay, Harry, keep going for it. Just keep going. And, mums love their sons and they're going to tell them they're doing amazing. And sometimes a little bit of home truths, like you need to take a step back and just evaluate why you like football.
I love this question. I love this follow-up question from Sean, though, because I think this is how I feel. How does he get his head back in the game when he's a laughing stock of his whole country as a self-fulfilling prophecy? It really is that. It really is that, where I'm saying he's not a rubbish player. He's playing for England and then he scores an own goal. If your confidence...
I think with that, we've kind of answered that as well. He should have left Man United and that pressure valve would have been released.
Yeah.
And got, I think he's been ill-advised again there. I think he needed to resurrect himself.
Listen, I totally get what you're saying about advice, but I think one of the things about being a grown-up, being anyone really, is that you get advice and you choose which advice to take. Ultimately, these things fall on the individual, not the advisors, because I don't think it's a big stretch of the imagination to realize that if you're a multi-millionaire footballer with a lot of free time on their hands, hanging out with the wrong people, you're going to get some bad advice. I'm not sure that the great players weren't getting just as bad advice. I mean, ultimately, Diego Maradona was absolutely the worst advice you could possibly get, hanging around with the mafia, but in the end,
boys.
In the end, you are responsible for what you do. And if you turn around and go, well, this person told me I was brilliant and I'd listen to him, and go, yeah, you chose to listen to him. You don't have to do that. You can always you can make your own decisions and be your own person. And until you can do that, I can't really respect them anyway.
But, so to that question there, all I can think of is he needed to have got away from the banter club of Man United and just...
You know what? Let's hypothetical. Let's make this hypothetical. All right, but he goes to West Ham. He stays in the England team because he's had a few games for West Ham and he puts the own goal in anyway. Doesn't make any difference, is it?
Yeah.
I think we're all agreeing, but I think Sean's point sums it up in fewer words than I usually use, which is
to that stage, Dan, where we now have to say this. I know he came out in that statement and said he's mentally strong, and you've got to say that. But to me, you've really got to start questioning what's going on in his head now, because I think it's got to that point where it's going too far. And yes, I get it. His performances have been lousy, and my idea was, that goal went in because his positioning's wrong. He's too slow. He has to work on that.
Yeah, and for me, you know what's brutal, and it's having your job be that public. It's what he does when the own goal goes in, and he seems to look around and, he's trying to G up other players, and you just want to go. I bet on the coach on the way home. He's gone to sit down, and everyone's going, "Oh, sorry, mate, this one's taken." And it's one of those.
Yeah, and it's like, we've seen Maguire score numerous own goals. But I know that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
But
no, I mean that Sevilla game where, mate, like
you saw his face in that Scotland game, and he actually looked quite broken, didn't he? After it, like
I've seen him look that broken before. I think he's broken. And at the same time, look, he's not facing the sack from the only job he can get and mortgage payments overdue and all this, so he's all right. I do. To your question, what do I think about his mum coming out and defending him? Like,
ridiculous.
No, of course it is. Do you know what I mean? Like come on. You know what? I dream of that. I dream of that. I'd love the very day Harry Kane's mum comes out and goes, "You leave Harry alone. He's doing his best."
Hey, it's like back in the day when you was at school and you'd go, "My dad's bigger than your dad."
Yeah. No, I mean, listen on the whole subject of mums defending you. No, but
another player, that we can talk about, and obviously we don't care about his team, but Richarlison seems broken.
How is he getting picked ahead of Jesus? How is he getting picked ahead? Jesus came on, had 11 minutes. How is Richarlison? I know Brazil haven't got a proper manager at the moment, but who's in that national setup going, who I think's good?
Richarlison, yeah.
Have we tried Richarlison? Because what we're lacking, I mean, listen, don't get me wrong, but his comments in the press recently a bit. Apparently, he's been going through some stuff. They talk very much what you've just been talking about with Maguire, about people around him have, just wanted his money and stuff. And I'm like, it is as tale as old as time. It's the most tragic thing, isn't it? When multi-millionaires, their biggest problem is they don't know if people actually like them or their money.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, possibly neither. Possibly I don't like their money or their personality. I just think Richarlison, for me, yes, he's Spurs, but he's the bloke who. No, he's not. I don't think he's that.
He's an alien.
Being. I don't care what he is. He's like being a human. By the way, and this is possibly one of the more controversial things I'll say because it's the modern era. But being a human being isn't enough for me. Like we're not all. There are some pretty vile human beings. I'm. Saying, oh, look, he's a human being, he deserves respect. No, not for me. Like, you do things that you deserve respect for. Maybe he gives a lot of money to charity. Maybe he's nice to his mum. Maybe I don't care about any of that. He's a Spurs player. And apart from anything else, he's a really rubbish Spurs player.
Very rubbish.
And I mean, he's so bad, isn't he? And he's got that kind of niggle to him. He's wound us up.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4. He constantly misses sitters.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, this is the funny thing about him, isn't it? Like, it's that whole idea that he has got more yellow cards for celebrating goals than goals. I mean,
somebody said, let's get that player back we had at Everton. It's like, if you look at when he played at Everton, he played predominantly off the right wing.
Yeah, he was good at Watford, though. I mean, I'll give you that.
But he scored 9 goals at Everton. He was never prolific, was he?
No, in Watford, he wasn't even that prolific. So we've just another comment from Sean. Sean, thanks, mate. We've just paid Pep to leave after a big money flop signing. Goes to show that there are many intangibles which have a bearing on end product. Well, yeah. And I don't know if you were watching earlier. I was talking about the Charles Watts book on Arteta, and this is just a fact, isn't it? I mean, I think that people let's bring in Brighton, because I love Brighton, and it's very easy to go, how do they keep finding these players? Well, I'll tell you how they keep finding these players. They buy 10 players, 4 of them really work. They've spent 4 million on 10 players. That's 40 million. 4 of them work and they make huge amounts of money. It's a system that works.
They apparently Brighton. When they search and scout players, they work on a percentage game or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't quite know what the ins and outs of what they mean by percentage. Obviously, is that just stats? Really?
No, it's not. First of all, yes, it is a stats based. So there are clubs like Brentford and Brighton who operate on a model where it's not manager led. So they know exactly the kind of profile of players that they are going to go and get. And the biggest problem they're going to face is if they have to transition into a regular European competition, because then you do need players of high caliber. But they are looking for types of players with certain age profiles, and they're essentially going out there buying. I mean, like if you go through the Brighton squad, this is really illustrative of the point I'm making. Yes, there's Enciso, who sadly is currently injured. And, you know, there are players in there that you suddenly think, God, Mitoma, how did they find him? Well, Mitoma was a player that was on the radar for a few big clubs. But Brighton are able to offer, and Ansu Fati is a perfect example of this. Ansu Fati, you think it'd be a no-brainer for us to go and get him, because if Saka's injured, he plays there. If Martinelli's comes off, you know, he can play across the front three. He's a hugely exciting player, potentially the next Messi, although that might not be the case anymore. But what Brighton can offer him is prestige football week in, week out.
And it made me chuckle that he turned down Tottenham for Brighton.
Yeah, well, he would do, wouldn't he? I mean, he's probably never heard of Tottenham. He's like,
who has?
I don't know. Maybe no, thank you, no. But so with the Brighton thing, you hear about the players that come through and do really well. Ferguson, I mean, I think he's great. An 18-year-old centre forward like could be as good as Haaland. I mean, that's a tough thing to say about anyone.
I remember you. I think last week you touched on the Pepe thing, and you was talking about when he was in the All or Nothing documentary, and you know, Arteta was giving him tactical knowledge. He didn't understand, did he?
No, and you have to be able to understand it. If you're going to play for, you see, the Spanish managers have always had a reputation for tactics embedded in Spanish football, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to play for one who is deeply embedded in tactics and is as tactically our manager is one of those master tacticians. He just loves the tactical side of the game, right? And so if you're going to play for him and all you want to do is get the ball and run up and down, it's probably not going to work. No. And it casts light on why you would sign a player like Kai Havertz, who's tactically hugely intelligent. Martin Odegaard, tactically hugely intelligent. Saka, high work rate, tactically hugely intelligent.
Zinchenko?
Huh? Zinchenko. Yeah, exactly. Zinchenko, hugely intelligent. Ben White, hugely intelligent. You know, Saliba, hugely intelligent. You go through the team and you can see that he's not having any players who just, and I think that might be where Emil Smith Rowe falls down, but I really hope not.
I think like, because of all Smith Rowe's injuries, I think he's just not progressed like Martinelli or
You
Saka.
don't progress. Listen, you're not going to progress without game time. It
He's
doesn't
been left
matter.
behind, and I think he's been left behind.
I will say this though, because there is a flip side to that exact thing though, which is almost, you could call it the Tielemans effect, which is the very fact that Emil Smith Rowe's game has not progressed as quickly means he's less likely to suffer the kind of burnout that a player like Tielemans has at 26. Because Tielemans was playing non-stop from 16 to 26, and you see burnout. There are very few players that play very young all the way through, you know?
But I'm never going to accept this. Pepe wasn't given a chance. He was.
82 games. 82
yeah, he was
games.
given a chance. And, you know, people, and then I got somebody, you know, saying the other day, oh, they needed to adapt the whole system to fit Pepe. It's like, no, they bloody didn't.
No, well, what was really true is, and again, this is, you know, I'm going to keep. I really recommend everyone reads Charles Watts' book on Arteta, because he talks about this quite a lot, about how we changed. Sanlehi left, and obviously Emery hadn't wanted Pepe; he'd wanted Zaha, but they just didn't want to stump up the fees.
Didn't they want 100 million at that stage for Zaha?
They wanted 100 million, which you know is punchy back then, you know. But I think nowadays fans get upset because, and I, you know, to some degree, I would put myself in that bracket, because we didn't go out and spend and get a second best. Like, it feels like now, if Arteta can't get the exact player he wants, he's not interested in a guy that's nearly as good. And in the long run, I think that means you have fewer problems like Man United are facing. But in the short term, it can be frustrating. So if the reality was when we couldn't get Zaha, we didn't sign anyone, it would arguably have been far better. But at the time, we were in the shit and we needed something to lift us. And when Sanlehi did that, he was everyone's favourite. He was the man who spent money, and the reality is there was a lot going on immediately after that. And you remember Mislintat and, the hopes we had that he was going to go and continuously find us players like Guendouzi, and he got us Guendouzi and Socrates, and, there were players that came in.
And I get it. People have also said, oh, this Guendouzi, he's good. But it's his attitude. It was his attitude, wasn't it?
Mate, there's a classic game. It was the game, I think it was the last game he played, actually, wasn't it? When oh Christ, who's a bright Mope? And he had Mope by the neck. And it wasn't that. It was as he went off down the tunnel, you had Saka and Smith Rowe walking behind him, and he's kicking all the distancing cones. And you just think he's fallen out with people everywhere he's gone.
Everywhere.
You don't really get great teams that have that kind of player in there. You can't pick one at Man City. Who's the guy at Man City who's kicking cones around? Who's the guy at who's the guy from the Barcelona team that dominated? Bayern Munich. I will say this.
Pep wouldn't stand for it.
No, and that's one of the reasons Pep couldn't wait to get the hell out of Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich, FC Hollywood's famous for it. Every player who puts a Bayern jersey on is a total egomaniac.
I think it was a few weeks ago. Have you seen the clip where I think Haaland had scored 2 goals and they're walking off at half time and Pep's having a go at Haaland? Have you seen it?
Yeah. No, I did. I saw it live. I saw
Yeah, and he's like going.
Yeah. Now that for me that's a flag. Now I am obviously I made a prediction that I don't think Man City are going to win the league this season. I felt that Man City were going to, partly because I think Pep's run out of steam a little bit, and I don't know if he knows what he wants to do there.
I think Gundogan is a massive loss.
I think, and I would say it on 2 fronts. One, good player, and who left the Man United treble-winning team? No one. But on a second point, it's the first time you see, like you saw this at Barcelona when Pep left. You saw this at Bayern when Pep left. He is the hardest manager to work for. His attention to detail is second to none. You do not get a moment off. Like he famously at Barcelona would have a list of things that players were allowed to do in their evenings. And he would, like Alex Ferguson did, like all of the great players. The great managers don't want you to do anything but play football. So that's why someone like Odegaard is so perfect for Arteta. Yeah, because, famously Alex Ferguson knew all the doormen of all the clubs. So they would phone him up and go, oh, Giggsy's. But, so you couldn't. And Manchester, obviously, being a provincial little small town, that's easier to do. However,
it's 2. Whoops.
What's that?
I said Manchester people, small mentality for football as well.
Listen, I don't know because I don't know how many of them. Are they like? Are there any Man United fans from Manchester, or is it all just Surrey and Sussex?
All I say about Manchester is rubbish football teams, great music.
I'm definitely with you on the great music, but
Are you? Yeah, Joy Division.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I was just going to say to you, it depends on if you're going to be the kind of guy that goes Oasis or if you're going to go Joy Division. Because Joy Division, my hat's off to you, sir.
That's where I am. I'm Joy Division, Gerudy Column, all them kind of bands.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not as into it as you, obviously, but yeah, Joy Division, I love. One of my favorite guitarists, Johnny Mars. So legends.
I love the Smiths, and my first passion, football and music, but I'm a failed musician. I'm one of them ones.
What do you play?
Guitar.
Lead or rhythm?
I would probably say I'm a bit more of a rhythm guitarist.
Good. Well, I'll play with you then.
You play guitar?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, not brilliantly, to be fair, but yeah, failed musician as well. Not failed musician as in I tried to make a living out of it. I wasn't that daft.
I do have electric guitars as well, but I'm an acoustic guitarist. That's my thing, acoustic.
Listen, we've got to do a separate podcast because I literally, I've got another channel, by the way, called Achtung Dan, which is a music channel. Which I've given
is
up
that
on.
Is that your Kraftwerk based channel?
No, that's my. It's all beautiful songs I've written that people listened to once and went, yeah, that'll do.
No, you should send me that, definitely.
I will. I will. I mean, I could do with an extra subscriber. It's that one, at least that's over 500. By the way, anyone watching and you haven't hit subscribe yet, I'm 40 away from 500. Come on, people, make it happen. Help me out here.
Hey,
but
when you get 1,000, you get monetized.
You get monetized at 500. You can you can do live chats with super. Yeah, but listen, it's not going to be. And anyway, the long term. You
might earn £30 every 3 months.
That's the hope. That is, which would be more than I ever earned with music, I can tell you. And I certainly spent a lot more on music.
We'll leave you to another story because now I've got a few stories for you with the music.
Yeah, well, listen, definitely, let's do a live on the Achtung Dan channel because
I actually worked with a band from the 70s as well, a famous band that I joined. I'll actually just quickly say it now. They had a #1 hit in 1972 when it was about. Obviously, I wasn't old enough, joined the revival band of that. They were called Saint Cecilia, and they released a song called "Leap Up and Down and Wave Your Knickers in the Air."
I'd have to take your word for it. That's not ringing any bells.
It got banned by Mary Whitehouse, on Radio 1 and all things like that. But yeah, I joined that band as a sessions musician, but I was playing keyboards at the time. But we worked with the Hollies, the Searchers, Hermits, Freddie and the Dreamers.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you're way ahead of me. I've never took it seriously. I picked up the guitar first time I picked it up was I was 41 or something, and I just not really. I mean, like we used to mess around
doing that though. But anyway,
But let's definitely hook up and do a live on Achtung Dan channel because this would be something to do on that. Bringing it back to football with Sean's comment that I'm fine with having signed. Oh, look, do we have to? I don't mean this in a way it just sounded. Actually, I was going to. Should we talk about Havertz? Because I think it's not going away. I'm fine with having signed Havertz. Looks good off the ball, but it's that signing which has probably killed ESR's Arsenal career. Maybe that's why he's getting battered.
I agree with that as well. That if you're Smith Rowe, you're a Hale End boy. You want to get into the team. You eventually get your break. You have a bit of a crap run of injuries, and you bring Havertz in. I can see where definitely that would affect him. So on the thing that you said to me not to say earlier, like don't sell him. It's like, isn't getting 40 million a good investment as what? I mean,
listen, I was quite. Sometimes people leave comments on the videos, and it does kind of like make you the knee-jerk reaction is one thing, and then you go back. So someone had put, if he was your son, what would would you want him to stay? And I was like,
yeah,
no, I'd probably want him to go to Villa. If I'm honest, I'd probably want him to get a chance.
And and that's kind of how I sit with it. It's like the lad needs to play. So I'm thinking, if you're not going to get it, you need to go. And somebody like Emery, Emery loved him, didn't he?
Yeah, and wants him back. That's the point, isn't it? I mean, like
I think if we got, if he went to Villa, I think we'd see him cook again.
Yeah, and I don't really want that.
Yeah, well, I hate the fact that Maddison went to Tottenham. That's it. That's who I wanted over Havertz.
Flash in the pan. He won't last. He's rubbish.
Do you reckon?
No, I'm manifesting. I just want it to be true. Listen, he looks great. And ball and
he seems to be making Tottenham tick.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of players in there. I think Son looks better than he had. Well, he certainly looks better than last season. Yves Bissouma, who I really wanted at Arsenal, but
I wanted when there was the talk of him, and when he went to Tottenham, I was like, no, what is happening?
Yeah. And I was worried. I mean, that was the season they won the transfer window, wasn't it?
And it's like when Conte brought Bissouma in, never got any game time, nothing. And then
I think he was unlucky with injuries, to be fair, to some degree. But
he's been blocking it for Tottenham as well.
Yeah, really. I mean,
are Tottenham back?
No, they're not. They're not back. You can only be back if you've ever been here to begin with, right? Like, when were they ever here to begin with? Like, where is back for them? See, this is it. All the fans jumping up and down singing. All their fans jumping up and down singing. We've got our what are they singing? We've got our football back, or we've got our Tottenham back. Yeah, and you go exactly because you're out of the League Cup. You've got the FA Cup to play for this season. Good luck with that.
How far back are we going? We're back from when we had Aussie Ardealers.
91. That's how far they have to go back. 91.
They have not had, like you say, a marquee, like a great striker since Klinsmann. Well, apart from Kane. But when have they brought in a massive player like since Klinsmann?
Sergei Rebrov.
Oh, great.
It's a long history of Tottenham boards going, we're going to sign Shevchenko, we're going to sign Shevchenko, we're going to sign Shevchenko, we're going to sign a great Ukrainian, we're going to sign a goal-scoring Ukrainian. Here's Sergei Rebrov, everyone. Yay! And you're like, well season ticket money. Thank you. Lovely.
Shevchenko at Chelsea was a disaster, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And goes back to Sean's point earlier. There are so many intangibles. You go and buy a player and you think there's no way he's going to fail.
And football's so much more than it used to be. Like when I listen to our Adu, it's like we look into their family life, their personality.
Good, because because you want to build. Look, one of the things I worked in recruitment. One of the things you can never get into the heads of employers is do not hire people on their skills.
No,
hire people you get on with because you can teach skills. You cannot teach people you get on with.
And I've heard all these people, the Arteta out gang, and they're all like, "What's all this about? Let's build this effing family style." I had to say F. Sorry, we'll do this. We're doing. It's like, do you not get happy families stay together and things like? Do you know what I mean? All these the attitude like that.
Yeah.
You have to build a good morale, and they're
you see the advantage of it. You see, why did Rice come? Because Saka said to him, "It's great here. It's like a family."
What? Yeah.
Apart from anything, that's the right way to do anything. Companies, sports teams, everyone should be trying to build a relationship based, because you're going to go through. You're going to. What I loved. I rewatched Arsene Wenger, the Invincible documentary.
I've got that. I've only watched half of it.
It's a little bit. His book was a bit boring, and it's a bit boring, but I love the man, and I will put up with some boredom. But no, there are some key moments in it, and he does talk about it. He says, the players talk about it. He goes, when they went on to the field with each other, they were brothers.
Yeah,
you
see that in the team, and there's people moaning about this. Oh, we've got a frigging dog and all this and that. It's like, you do know that Arsenal's had a cat at Colony for years.
Yeah, look, all of that stuff, it's family business and it works. And, it's no one else's. You know what? We are criticized for being a really toxic fan base. I get annoyed with our fan base, but then I realize it's mostly just online. And then you wonder how much they're really fans anyway, because I could pretend, I can pretend to be a Man United. I don't think, actually, I probably couldn't. I could pretend to be a Chelsea. No. If I had to pretend, if I wanted to be if I wanted to do what we're doing now, but for another club, it would have to be like Villa or something. I'd have to put an accent on, but I pretend, and anyone can do that and go, it's disgusting. Emery needs to be.
For some reason, I've always had a soft spot for Everton.
Yeah, me too.
They're one of the teams that I don't,
because they've never done anything. Because since the 80s, they're not a challenge, are they? We used to have a great record against. I remember we always used to batter Everton.
But
maybe not away every time.
I think
but
it's to do with that traditional thing. Everton and Arsenal have never been relegated, from the top flight. And I think for me, it's all about that tradition. Things like, I don't want them to be relegated because of that.
They're going. I think they're going down. Although, from what I've seen of Burnley hasn't been good. What I've seen of Sheffield United hasn't impressed, and Luton Town. Are they going to get any points at all? Derby are the worst ever team in the Premier League, aren't they? I think that could be about. It's easy to predict that 4 games gone.
And sadly, you think of Luton, and then you've brought in Lukonga, and that's the saviour. I don't really see that. I don't think Lukonga will make it in the Premier League, to be honest.
Here's another attitude one. He's another Ainsley, Maitland-Niles, Lukonga. We have signed players where the attitude hasn't been quite right.
Like
Nuno Tavares. We have signed those players, and I think we've done the right thing by them. You know,
Windows,
we've given.
like you say, you know, people go, "Why did we get rid of Luca Torreira?" Because he didn't like England. He didn't want to be there.
Wasn't into it at all, was he?
No.
And that it's the same as Arshavin. You know, we signed this player from Russia who's never had a bank account, never been in a big city, never gone on an escalator, and you just go, yeah, some people ain't going to make it in London. Do you know what I mean?
But apparently, we're not allowed to talk about him anywhere. You know, like he didn't exist.
Arshavin?
Yeah, because he was Russian, wasn't he?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I know, but there's people in the fan base that.
Listen.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it seems like a weird thing to say, considering we're running a good channel dedicated to Arsenal. But fuck the fan base, honestly. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sick of everyone's opinions. Everyone's entitled to them. Start your own channel. I'm literally gonna say whatever I think. And for me, Arshavin was a great player. And if he'd fallen in love with living in London, we'd still be singing songs about him. And you can't predict that one way or the other. And Torreira is a great one to bring up. He's exactly like I like Torreira a lot. I mean, I didn't like the way Unai Emery's teams was set up. I don't like that kind of midfield, missing midfielders. No, I think. But
looking at Ainsley Maitland-Niles, where he's gone now, he's getting stick from the fan base there.
Where has he gone now? Where has he gone now?
I'd like to think it was Nice.
Oh, Ainsley Maitland. I lost track of him. I just felt so sad because it was like, you know, that FA Cup, he was brilliant in the FA Cup win against Chelsea.
I think Nice.
I'm just looking it up now. It is a I'll have to Wikipedia him. Not bad. Well, I never said I was an expert. Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Yeah, he plays Lyon.
Lyon.
You know,
Lyon.
I enjoy saying that. I don't know why.
He's just going to be one of these players that I think will end up in the Championship.
Yeah.
If he even
listen, you know, it is.
Southampton didn't even go back in for him, did they?
I don't think he would have stayed at Southampton.
No.
I don't think that. I mean, they're in a bit of a mess anyway now, aren't they? What did they just? Southampton, I don't think are coming back up. That is.
I believe Leicester will probably come straight back up.
Yeah, maybe. Listen, I don't watch enough Championship to have an opinion on it, but I
saw a stat the other day, and they was talking about James Vardy, and they say if you look at his whole career, he's actually only cost Leicester £242 a day.
Do you know what's funny? What was the team? Was it Fleetwood where if he'd signed for Arsenal for 40 million, they would have got like 10% of it, and that's like, you know, and then he didn't, and you just think, oh mate, I hope he wrote them a check, you know, like
we nearly had that chance, didn't we, when we was going to go for Vardy?
I'll never forget someone running Football Manager with Arsenal signing Vardy and saying it doesn't work out for him at Arsenal, and thinking, I can kind of see that. Is he another one of these players that, listen, what he was great at, we just don't. He was a bit Pepe-esque in the sense that he wants to run in the space between lines, and we're not going to get that. You know, Pepe wasn't going to get that. So there is a sense that you have to go out and buy players that fit the system. I think that's what they're trying to do with Havertz. I think that, you know, probably why Ansu Fati is wise to have gone to Brighton and not Arsenal. Well, I'm still gutted about it.
What did you think of the rumours again about Vlahovic?
Yeah, I mean, great. Thanks for bringing that up, because I'm going to throw it at you. Why Vlahovic? What is everyone so hooked on Vlahovic for? What, you know, I've watched him.
I'm not seeing it either.
At Juventus, he's not done anything at all.
Big boy though, strong lad.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that's us.
And because all the fan base seems to be, you know, like we want Ivan Toney, and I want Ivan Toney. That's why we're not going to get him.
Do you? I'm not.
Yeah. I think I think Toney is the missing link, missing bit of our puzzle.
That's really interesting. I definitely don't think that. We have our first area of sensible disagreement.
20 goals though last season.
Great.
But in a Brentford.
That's how it works, isn't it? You get 20 goals a season at Brentford, and you come to Arsenal, and you definitely get 20 goals a season there as well.
Well, 20 goals in a poor Brentford. Well,
who are you dropping for Tony? Is that Jesus out the window then? Is it?
Yeah.
Is that what we're saying? Is that like Ivan Toney?
No, I think that's Eddie out the window.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at age profile. I'm looking at
how old is he? 27.
All right, Ivan Toney. I think he comes across really well in interviews. I think he's a good guy. I'm saying that, but I'm also saying that previous conversation we were having about characters who come in and are the type to kick cones about.
Could he be decisive? Yeah.
Isn't that what we're talking about? Isn't Ivan Toney that? Listen, and that's really, I'm talking off the top of my I can't say that because I don't know the guy, and it's not fair of me to even think it, but I do.
I kind of got the same vibe from Zaha as well. That maybe you would get from Toney.
Yeah, I'm not quite on the same page on Zaha. For me, I don't know, but I see what you're saying. Yeah,
the Galatasaray move,
the odd one. But then, actually, it's because Zaha is involved in a out of football business that's very, very big, and he just wants. He's not really in the football anymore. It always surprises me when players go to Turkey, but I don't watch a lot of Turkish football. But having lived in North London most of my life, a lot of the supermarkets and kebab shops you go into will have a Turkish game on, and there's a lot of passion in that country. I love it.
Somebody go, why has Pepe only been given a 1-year contract? Is it because Pepe's exploring his options after maybe? It's like, no, it's because he's been given a chance, a lifeline. It's the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this was the thing that really pissed me off about, Edu's not doing a good enough job. He needs to sell players like Pepe. It's like, no one wants Pepe.
Nobody wanted him. That's the thing.
Not even on a free, so you got to go, okay, we got hosed on that one. We did bad transfer business.
Apparently, we've still got 10 million left to pay this month. And
is that right?
Yeah, so we're still paying for Pepe. So
on the bright side, I don't think it's going to cripple Stan Kroenke. He's doing all right for himself. I constantly get clickbaited by these things where it says on news aggregators, Stan Kroenke in big stadium update, and what's he doing? He goes, sorry for the Denver Nuggets or something. Okay, brilliant.
Clickbait.
What
was I going to say? Stan Kroenke, have you seen that his wife's worth even more?
Yeah, she's one of absolute. Well, yeah, she's one of the 5 Walmart inheritees. Is that the right word? I think it's the right word. Yeah, they're swimming in money, but the world is like that, right? Kroenke has, for me, this is the other thing. It's funny. We've done an hour and a half, and not once has it even occurred to us to talk about Vinay Vinkantesh. I can never pronounce his name.
Vinay,
sorry, Vinay. Vinay is Vamos. And does anyone care? It's really sweet. Sean actually sent me the thing. This is your job. You should send a CV in for this because you'd be good at it. I was like,
thing is, Vinay, he comes across as a really nice guy.
Listen, I don't know what a CEO of a football team. I don't know. I've got no idea. It's not nobody we didn't go to football. We didn't watch football on telly and go to football matches as kids because one day we thought, I'd love to be in the office and decide on how much to pay the.
I'm not going to sleep that Vinay is leaving. It's like nice chat. I've seen him.
And maybe that's us being really naive. Maybe what we don't realize is just how much he's responsible for making everything tick.
I watched like a CEO business show a few months back, and it was an interview with Vinay, and it was actually really good. He was talking about the dynamics of behind the scenes of a football team.
Important. And again, that's what's great about this Charles Watts book, because he goes into that. He talks about the changes, Sanlehi and what happened with Edu coming in.
I can't see the average football fan sitting there and, listen to him talking about business protocols and stats
No, but you know what? Do you know what? That's what I love and I hate about Manchester United fan, because that's what they all do. They all talk about ownership and CEO and investment and money. Like, they know what they're talking about. They don't. Like, we don't. I am not a CEO of a football club. I don't have the faintest bloody idea what they deal with every day or what their jobs are like. Or
hey, we haven't touched on the Champions League selections. You know what 2 players we're talking, you know.
Yeah. And but also what we're looking at, I mean, yeah, right. But also, and I guess the other one you're talking about is Sousa. Is that right?
No, I'm okay with that. He's left back, isn't he?
No, I'm chuffed with it. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm fine
but
with that.
What's fascinating, huh?
El Neni.
Is he in it?
El Neni's in it, yeah.
Oh, okay. Then he must be coming back from injury. I thought he was like going to be injured forever now.
We've got El Neni in there and Cedric, but obviously there's no Timber.
That's what I was going to say to you, because I, like, in conversation with various people that have said, you know, he might be back, and this is pretty much he's not back till February. Then he's not back probably till
so
March,
basically
April.
What this is, I'm not too fussed about the El Neni, because in January when you can update the squad, I believe that'll be Timber coming in for El Neni. You know,
no, you see, maybe, but I think it's showing us that Timber ain't back. He ain't coming back.
You know, and
but
with Neni, you know, obviously he's a lovely character, but I really don't want to see the guy on the pitch for us anymore. I'm quite happy. You know,
I love it. There's nothing gets me going more than a nice disagreement. Show me when El Neni's ever played badly. And he's not glamorous. He's the last Wenger signing we've got.
El Neni is just one of them players. To me, I would compare El Neni to Giles Grimaldi.
No. And there's a very fundamental difference between El Neni and Giles Grimaldi. And it is
You're not
this.
Going to point out the nationality thing.
No, nothing to do with that. No, right. We've got Arsenal is a global enterprise now. We've got fans and players from everywhere, and I love that. Right. No, but in a game in the Premier League, I and my friend had turned up to take our seats in the North Stand lower, but quite far back. And this was at Highbury, by the way. And Giles Grimaldi was warming up. There were no players out, but he was out. We got it very early. I had a beer and a hamburger, and I'm walking along. And I'd noticed that Giles Grimaldi was taking shots. I don't even think there was a keeper in there. And as I'm walking along, there's a few people dotted around. And as I walk past this one guy, he just jumps up and goes, "Oh, what are you fucking doing?" Like that. And I'm like, and he's not shouting at me, and I'm standing right next to him. And I'm, what the hell's going on? Ahead of me is my mate Chris, who's pissing himself. Right? And I suddenly noticed I haven't got my burger or my hamburger, my burger or my beer anymore. And this guy's wearing them. And what's happened is Giles Grimaldi's taken a shot at goal. It's gone sailing over straight through my beer. And as I turn to look at Grimaldi, he's sheepishly walking off back down to the tunnel. So for me, every time we used to go to Highbury, they were called Grimaldi burgers. And I watched that. It was just Soccer AM. I watched it to see if they might have picked it up on the CCTV, but they didn't. No, so Giles Grimaldi for me is an absolute... Listen, Giles Grimaldi was signed for Patrick Vieira, wasn't he? Remy Gard and Giles Grimaldi were there just to look after Patrick.
But if you, if you look into El Neni at the minute, he's doing his coaching badges.
Yeah. So listen, he's loved in the team. He comes in. What I'm saying to people, everybody who talks to me about don't want to see El Neni play again. All right, go back and find me a game where he let us down badly.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but get us a game where we put a game. He doesn't change games, basically.
No,
does he?
And if you'd rather have, I mean, I guess yes, I'd probably rather have Zidane in there, or but that's not how squads work, is it? You cannot have.
You're comparing Zidane to El Neni.
No, I'm not. I'm just pointing out that squads have players in them that are functional, utility, and come in and do a job when needed. And I think I started this channel in January the 31st because of the signing of Trossard.
Would you be happy with El Neni starting in the Champions League?
It really depends on why he's starting. Let's be honest. Let me answer that question. Scott, let me answer the question for you honestly. If he's starting, he's probably because Partey's injured, Rice is injured, Jorginho's injured, and we've got a real crisis. Right? So on that point, yeah, I am glad he comes in, because when he comes in, he's a fifth choice, and as a fifth choice, he's never let us down. Whereas you could have another player like a Mesut Ozil, who's a first choice, who lets you down.
Lazy.
You know, yeah. El Nenny's not lazy. El
He's
Nenny's
not. You know what? That's what I mean. That's why I put him. He just puts a good shift in, you know, and he just does what he has to do.
Go
But
back and look at his ratings in games he's played, which obviously has been a year out now. But go back and look, and he was surprisingly good in all of them. You know, he's a 7 every time.
I don't, don't get me wrong. I don't hate the player. I think
Of course you don't. You'd be
not
mad
at all.
to. But I'm saying it comes up again and again because he's not the kind of player you're ever going to put in your team in FIFA, is he? You know,
You're never going to talk about him, are you, in the squad?
He's not. He just comes in, but he does play surprisingly well when called upon in bigger games as well. And frankly, I don't think it's. You also didn't stipulate what kind of Champions League game it is, because if we've played 4 games, won 4 games, qualified, and there's 2 games left, you don't want to see El Neni.
Yeah,
you know, we've got Man City on a Sunday, and we've got to play, you know, on a Wednesday. Yeah, put El Neni in.
Yeah, I justify playing him in that situation. I do.
I would love to sit here and discuss us having a squad of 25 players, all of whom are world class. But my question would be, how long before that team falls apart? Because players like El Neni do not argue about not getting game time.
No. And the thing is, that is one of them big questions, you know, what makes a player world class? You know, this is a big question that goes around the fan bases. And
I know, it's a silly one, really, isn't it? Because world classes would get into any team.
Yeah, but for me, I think to be even categorized in that thing, you've got to be top 3 in your position and probably consistent over probably 3 or 4 seasons, I think, to actually even get in there.
All right. So Martinelli can't be world class because he's not getting in.
Class, is the question.
Yeah, Saka's world class. Yeah, Saka's world class. And I've seen people say he's not, and I go, okay, show me the team he doesn't get into then. Like, who's not picking Saka?
Over the last 2 seasons, consistency has been his thing.
Yeah, I mean, he plays every game. He's never. I mean, for me, I accept that mine's not the only definition of world class, and everyone's entitled to their own. But I think a fairly good definition of world class is would get into any team, and I think Man City would play Saka. So,
you know, somebody said, you know, and I also see somebody the other day, and he goes, to be world class, you've got to have won a World Cup. It's like, what a ridiculous thing.
Fuck off. Yeah, all right then.
Yeah.
George Best, shit player, you know. Enough. You know, everyone's entitled to a bad opinion, but know that it's a bad opinion, and that's a silly thing to say. I mean, apart from anything, there's only one World Cup every 4 years, right? So in the last 40, you know, in my lifetime, there's been 12 winners of the World Cup, 12 squads, you know. So that makes it, that narrows the number of world-class players down quite considerably. And let us be very clear. I say this to people all the time. Diego Maradona won the World Cup in 1986 with Argentina. Who else in that squad was world class? Just so we can have that conversation, because the 86 Argentina side is Maradona and some other people who were lucky to know Maradona.
To be honest, I don't remember another player out of that squad.
No one does. No one ever, because I always have this conversation with people, because I'm a massive. If you say who's better, Pele or Maradona, first of all, I wasn't old enough to experience Maradona. Pele. And so I'm always going to favour Maradona. But for me, Maradona could take a team and win with the team. He was the sort of player who would win the World Cup with Argentina, even though it was Argentina. If you put him in the England squad, England would have won the World Cup. That's
some things I've seen with Pele. People have said, was he as good as he was? Because a lot of his goals came in friendlies.
Yeah, and playing inside. And listen, Diego Maradona. Look, if the argument about 86 Argentina doesn't do it for you, and I really think it should, by the way, let me point out that until this season's victory for Napoli, when was the last time they won anything? It's surprisingly when Maradona played for them. So this is a guy who can go to Napoli and win Serie A. I mean, he was amazing everywhere he went. He was Diego Maradona. He was like a great player. So he's world class.
Phenomenal.
But by the logic that anyone who's won a World Cup is, so is Shkodran Mustafi is world class. Go on then, make that make sense. Make that make sense on any level. on
I'm
any
not,
level.
I'm not
Do you
even
know what I
going to
mean?
say about Mustafi.
That's what I'm saying. If somebody who's going to say that in order to be world class, you have to win the World Cup, but that's 300 people. That's fewer than 300 people, but not even all of them are world class. And we're talking about there's only a couple of dozen world class people alive, then, isn't there? So all right,
Yeah.
fine if you like, that's
Just
fine.
back to El Neni. So basically, yes, he's took his coaching tickets and things like this. If you look into it, in the last year, he's started his own coaching academy in London.
Here was a clip of him and Granit Xhaka
Saw it.
going off. Yeah. So and listen, and this. What's wrong with that? You know, like what's wrong with having also? And I said this in passing, but he is the last Wenger signing.
So personally, for me, I would love to see El Neni in the backroom staff.
I think
because
I
like the guy.
Yeah, that might be a push. I'm not sure we will, but
you don't. We've got Jack Wilshere there, haven't we?
Oh yeah, Jack. Though, come on, there is a difference between
That's
Jack.
Just remind me, I've got to watch that documentary.
Yeah, you have got to watch it. But there is a difference between Jack. Oh mate, you know Jack. We all owe Jack a little bit because we
feel sorry for them. But I get why he got all his injuries. You know, if you watch him play, his legs.
I don't even want to. Do you know what, Scott? I don't even want to say I feel sorry for him because that almost implies that he who wouldn't want to? I dream of having a career, although it was cut short and he could have been better, and it was horrible for him to have those injuries. But he still.
You saw how he used to go into tackles and he used to leave his
He
legs split.
was one of the. I love this question that was on one of the podcasts, and I'm terrible for remembering where I hear things, but they were talking about who's the best player of the Emirates era. And they were talking about Santi Cazorla or Ramsey, because they played in an era where we just weren't that good. But I think players like Jack Wilshere, imagine Jack Wilshere in the Invincibles scene, just in the background, getting a few games here or there.
He could have been so much. He could have been so much, couldn't he, Jack?
He was for the time that he was fit. He showed us what he was. There's that game against Barcelona that everyone talks about. There's the goal against Norwich, which you just can't,
the goal against Norwich is outstanding.
It's Wenger's finest moment. I think for him, Wenger, that will probably feel like a trophy. It probably would have felt like a trophy.
I don't think we'll ever forget how he bossed Barcelona.
No, I mean the Barcelona talk about it. There's a great podcast at the moment called The Rest Is Football with Gary Lineker, Mika Richards, and Alan Shearer. I love it.
I love Mika.
He's just so funny. I mean, the three of them got great chemistry.
He's got great energy, hasn't he?
But there's a great thing where they were talking about saying they were talking about Ansu Fati actually. Oh no, they weren't. They were talking about this other kid at Barcelona now, Lily. I can't remember his name now, but there's another wonder kid coming through. He's like 16 years old, and at the end of his game, he's got a standing ovation from the away fans. And they were asking each other, "Goes, have you ever had a standing ovation from the away fans?" And Lineker was like, "Actually, yeah, I did. I got one at Man United when I was retiring." And then Alan Shearer goes, "Well, yeah, actually, now that you mention it, I did as well from the Liverpool fans. When we won the league." And Lineker goes, Did you win the standing ovation, or was that your team? Was that Kenny Dalglish? And he went, "Well, I suppose it was Kenny Dalglish." But then Mika Richards goes, "I've never had that," and he goes, it's great banter. They are absolutely classic.
I did see that one. There was one clip, and it was Jamie Carragher, Thierry Henry, and Micah Richards, and they're in the studio, and they say like Thierry Henry, winner of the Champions League. Jamie Carragher, Champions League.
Yeah, Kate Ebdo. She's always doing that to him. She's brilliant.
Micah Richards, one appearance in the Champions League.
He's here as well. Yeah, Micah's here as well. Gets hosed.
But I actually like Roy Keane as well.
Yeah.
Not as a player.
His autobiography is exactly what you'd expect if it was written. It's funny because it's almost like a parody.
Do you think he was an intelligent football player, or do you think he was just a meathead?
No, he's an intelligent footballer. There's no question about that. I mean, Alex Ferguson Alex Ferguson is a guy whose opinion must be worth as much as anyone else's.
I watched. yesterday, a clip came up on YouTube, and it was a clip of Roy Keane and his hard tackles. What a tackler he was, though.
No, but it's just this side of him that, as much as when you read his autobiography and he's talking about, so I hit him. You know, it's like he was, but he was quite. He's just disarmingly honest, because he talks about he was scared of Patrick Vieira and he was scared of P.H. Michael.
Does he say that about Vieira?
Yeah, he does. He says, "Well, like, look, great lump. Look at him, the size of him. Like, he got in a row with Peter Schmeichel, and Peter Schmeichel is not and Peter Schmeichel, and they went at it in the hotel corridor, and they both had black eyes, and of course they got called in to talk to the boss about it, and he was like, "What's happened?" No, nothing like that. But
technically, Vieira was light years ahead of Keane. Technically,
I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I listen. What
really?
I would quote Alex Ferguson on this one when he talks about Roy Keane. That guy could play in any position you asked him to. I remember Keane at Nottingham Forest. I do think that. Well, it depends what you mean technically. I mean, yeah, he had everything. He had a pass on him. He had aggression. I mean, I think that his temperament overshadowed his skill. But he was
we're on about Vieira here, aren't we?
No. I mean, Vieira's temperament. Listen, Vieira is in my all-time best 11. Any way you look at it, you know, I'd sneak him into the England squad if I could.
See, somebody also brought a thing up the other day, and they said, what would Patrick Vieira think of Kai Havertz playing in the team? What would he have said to him? And I hate that. I'm just like, well,
no, I'll go out on this one. I'll say,
it's not going to happen, is it? Because
Vieira would get it. Patrick Vieira would get it. Patrick Vieira would understand why Kai Havertz is in the team. None of us can know, and this is the point that's come up, it's been recurring throughout this conversation, and it's because we're intelligent people discussing this intelligently. None of us can know the future. No one can know how it's going to work out for a player. There's too many other factors that we can't predict. But I think footballing people who have studied tactics and watched football in a way that I don't, I watch it as a fan, they see what he does differently to me. And I think there is also a huge discrepancy between people who are watching it on television, which is where I watch it now, and watching it at the game. Because when you're at the game, you watch what you want. And when you watch what you want, you see movement off the ball. I used to go and watch Gary Lineker. I used to go home games, Arsenal away. When we were away, I'd go and watch Tottenham at home because I got free tickets.
What?
So I used to go and watch every home game at Tottenham and sit with Tottenham fans. And I would just... No, listen, Arsenal fan, never cheered them on, hated them, but it's football. I'll go and watch it, you know. Yeah. And it was the era of Gascoigne and Lineker, so I was getting some good football watching done. I mean,
you know, where I used to live as well, I used to quite often go see Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, I mean, Nottingham Forest, the reason we play in red, I love Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, because you know, being in Lincolnshire, you know, it was only like an hour up the road.
Listen, Forest, man, like Cloughie, just the history of Forest. I love Forest. You've got to watch that Electric Strawberry, it's called, because they're all stories about Brian Clough. There's a brilliant one about Dean Saunders going to meet. No, it's this Instagram channel, TikTok channel, and YouTube channel called Electric Strawberry, and it's like Dean Saunders talking about he was thinking about signing for Forest. He's gone to meet Cloughie. He's gone to this guy's house. He's brought his agent with him, who's his mate, big lad, and Cloughie's gone. He's sitting on the chair opposite him, and he's gone, my knees aren't what they used to be. And he starts kneeling on the floor, and he's looking at carpet. This is lovely carpet. Where did you get this carpet? He's like, I've got carpet, right? He's like, the missus would love this. And he goes, do you like flowers, young man? And Dean Saunders is like, yeah, they're all right. I like flowers. And he's gone in the garden, and he's got a pot. He's trying to get this flowers out of a pot of flowers. And the guy who owns the house is like, don't do that. That's my... Anyways, come in with this pot of flowers. He goes, there you are, son. There's some flowers. Now, do you like me? And he's gone, yeah, I could play for you. He goes, right, he's signed. Get him signed. And he's just, the stories about Cloughie are just next level.
Yeah.
He likes me. He likes flowers. It's a
What's the problem? Yeah.
It's just brilliant.
Cloughie, he was outstanding. And I tell you what, I can't get over that clip of him on YouTube. Remember the one where he's belting his own fans? Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen that.
I'll send you the clip. And what it is at the end of a game, loads of fans come running onto the pitch, right?
Oh, well, no, I have seen that. Yeah.
And he claps the fans, and then he makes the two fans go on the interview and apologise to him.
Rarely sober, but often,
but you
often
could
amazing.
see at that stage there, he was a bit out of control with the
One of the saddest things was when he got him relegated, and it was, Keane was there. That was hard to watch.
Yeah.
But I like. It's funny. He's just, the stories around him are never ending. There's the brilliant story of Stuart Pearce has just captained England, right? And he's gone, now you've captained England. Did you think you had a good game? Did you? And Stuart Pearce has gone, yeah, I think I did all right. Yeah. And he's gone, right. Well, you're a fraud. That's what you are. And he's going, I noticed in the programme, page 7, Stuart Pearce, electrician. Yeah, well, you're not an electrician, are you? And he said, well, no, but, when I was non-league, I used to be an electrician, and now my brother's taken over the business. So if I call that number on a Saturday, you're not coming out, are you? And he goes, well, no. He goes, right, now and he's got an iron in his bag, in this plastic bag. And he goes, now that's broken. And if it's not fixed by Saturday, you're not playing. And on Saturday, the mended iron is on his desk. Stuart Pearce is playing. That is man management 101. That is like, this is the England captain. And he's gone, you're a fraud.
They respected Cloughie, didn't they?
How could you not respect him? Trevor Francis, first £1 million footballer. And he goes, great. I can't wait to teach him how to play football.
I tell you, I love the interview with him. Is it with him and is it Don Revie?
Yeah. That's famous because they hated each other. You've never won anything properly. It's just brilliant. I know I'm murdering the impersonation, by the way, but I just doing my best.
Fluffy.
Huh? Yeah. What, the Damned United?
Brilliant.
Of course, yeah. It's like first of all, that's a great piece of acting.
Is it
Michael Sheen? Yeah, just
what an actor.
It could just be him. I mean, it was so good.
I tell you another film with Michael Sheen that has gone under the radar. He did a film about Kenneth Williams.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay. He's incredible. He's a credible mimic then. But
actually, I think the film about Kenneth Williams is on YouTube. Phenomenal.
I might give that a watch. Yeah, but you know what's funny is that when it comes to Cloughie, I know I've murdered the impression, but there's so many people who worked with him who do it so well. There's what's the goalkeeper who he got called into Cloughie's office and he goes, "What are you doing on Sunday?" And he goes, "Well, nothing. Might sit around the house."
Was that
he goes,
Mark
right. Crossley, yeah, he made him play for his son's Division 5 team. And when they got caught out for playing Crossley as a ringer, there was a 50 quid fine and he took it out of his wages. Just like you can't.
He made him pay for it too.
He made him pay for it. So first of all, he made him play for his son's team that he didn't want to. And then he was like, when they got fined 50 quid, Mark Crossley had to pay it. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, can you? It's like, I just love him.
Just going back to that Michael Sheen, you think he's good as Cloughie, you should see him as Kenneth Williams. Outstanding.
Yeah, that's a hard one to do as well. I won't try and do a Kenneth Williams.
No, I'm a big fan of Kenneth Williams. I thought he was a very funny guy.
He was a weird one, wasn't he? Because he said he wanted to. Did he kill himself? I don't want to actually. Let's not get into it because we'll go down a rabbit hole there.
No, I don't think. I can't remember.
Because he said he wanted to die before he was 65, and then he did. So, we can't go off on the Kenneth Williams tangent.
No,
I can't.
But he was more than a carry-on film artist.
God, no. But his storytelling is impeccable. And anyway, I don't think of him when I think of. No, honestly, we'll save it for the other music channel. We'll do music and Kenneth Williams. But in terms of so just to round off my thoughts on El Neni, you are going to have a squad of 25 players. You really can't be. There's going to be a couple of players that just aren't going to get a lot of game time, and I think he's the one that wouldn't give you any shit. He's doing his thing.
Pitch, is he?
Huh?
Cedric won't get on the pitch. He's just there as numbers.
I'm really surprised he's still at the club. I think to let Tierney go on loan, although he clearly really wanted to.
I've seen his comments now, and Tierney said he. No brainer.
Not good to say it. Don't say it. Think it. Believe it, don't say it.
What, that he'll
Also,
never play?
I will say as well, he hasn't really set the world on fire. I know it's only been a couple of games. He didn't play well for Scotland.
I've not
But
seen the about his games at Sociedad yet.
yeah, more my guess is that he's not going to. I mean, it's a bit like, like has Bellerin set the world on fire? No, there are
Did you
just
see that?
players who.
Did you see that Charlie Patino got under 21's call up?
Yeah, I did. I saw he came on as a sub, didn't he?
Yeah. The thing
Yeah.
is, and it's the thing that, people like Patino, I'd like to keep him, but
I was
just
really
don't
surprised we did. I was really surprised because when the news broke that he was being sold, I was a bit upset about it.
I don't see how we're going to bring him through right now because we're not at that stage.
No, and look, it's not even that. It's the other problem is that there is Miles Lewis Skelly, Cozier Dewberry, Sousa's now got into the squad. And I think you will see a few of those players in the Champions League. We have got a couple of easy games. I mean, hopefully, I think Sevilla is going to be tough, obviously.
Tough, yeah.
Yeah, but Lens takes me right back. It was the first season when Wenger was in charge. We played them at Wembley. Our first season in the Champions League. Horrifying game that was.
How many times has Seville won the Europa League? Twice?
7 times.
Did I just say twice? What the hell?
Yeah, you said twice. I mean, twice is mad. They've won it 3 times in a row and twice in a row. I mean, it's absurd how well they've done in that. They're current holders. I mean, like you can't. There's something magic about that team in that cup. Let's hope it doesn't translate to Champions League. Because
so I think that will be a bit of a test, that game.
Oh, Sevilla. Well, of course it will. Yeah, no, that's going to be a test.
I'd say that'll be the biggest test out of the
for sure. What's the other one? Who have we got? It's Lens, Sevilla, and
PSV.
Oh yeah, PSV without Gakpo and why? It's it's getting late. I know it's getting early for you, but it's late. We're having it the other way now.
Yeah, I've got to cut the flip. I've been given orders from the wife that I've got to cut the back lawn.
Well, I think, do you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure, as it always is, Scott. I look forward to. Listen, I'll bell you anyway. We'll do a music one because I think that'd be really interesting. Because I actually did a song on the music channel where I ripped off a Joy Division backing and did a new song over it. So
which song was it? Which backing?
No, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to send you the thing and you can tell me. It's not, to be really honest, it's not actually a Joy Division backing, but it's so close to one. There's a few, like, could be Transmission. It could be, like there's, but I love Joy Division.
This will make you chuckle. Hang on.
I can't really see it.
There's a young
Cecilia. Oh, yeah. So, it's not clear enough. You have to send me a photo of it. We'll do it. We'll set it up as an interview with listen, let's do this, right? We're going to do a live stream on Achtung Dan and we're going to build it up as like a chance to finally one of my heroes from St. Cecilia, when they got back together again, really made it tick for them on the keyboards.
I'm not saying, there's only reason why they let me join that band.
Well, you a roadie or something? No. Were you the only one with a van?
I was the only one that could bring them groupies in.
Okay. Well, that's a good enough reason, isn't it?
Because of my age, I was only like 23, 24, and they were all like the 50s. And he was like, Scott, you see that group of good girls over there? You go talk to them.
Go and talk to them, please. Well, because they're shy, are they? Listen, I would really enjoy music live. So
I've got a few stories actually.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'll send you because I'm going to head off to bed now anyway. But I will send you a thing in tomorrow, and let's do it.
No, awesome. It's been a pleasure, mate.
Loved it. And thanks to everyone who's watched in the live comments, Sean. And also, if you are watching this in replays, I'm sure you will be, then do remember that there are only 40 more spaces before we get to 500 subscribers. To be one of the first 500, what an honor, what a privilege. But more importantly,
we'll send
thank you.
You'll send them a fridge.
We're sending them
magnet.
shit all. I'm sending them nothing. I'm broke.
Fridge magnet.
Fridge magnets. I can't find one cheap enough. I'll send them love. I'll send them love. I'll do a song. We'll write them a song. Hey, listen, write a song for this, will you? Because I never get around to it, and I'm this close to writing a song. I've used some of my music in some of the videos, but
I'm going to write you an intro.
That's it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the guy. Yes, now you're talking.
Because now with technology, we can send files backwards and forwards like that. To it. That's it.
You know, we are. Let's test the boundaries of what is possible in football. We'll write some songs. Come on, man. Scott, enormous privilege to have shared this 2 hours with you and enjoyed your company very much. I look forward to the music one, and we'll do this again next week. Yeah.
Sounds good, mate. Love it.
All right. Oh, actually, I know timings may not work out, anything like that. I am thinking of doing one on Sunday evening after the match, just because we're going to beat Everton and it's going to be celebratory. And, you know, West Ham will have beaten Man City and it'll be just a buzz. So if you're around for that, let me know. I'm going to invite a couple of other people possibly. And so if you're up for that.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll fill you in on that one. You know, I don't know where I'm going to be with work and things.
I know. So if you are able to do it, brilliant. If not, Thursday's always good, right?
Yeah, sounds good. You have a good sleep, mate.
Be lucky. Lots of love.